Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Quesada. I'm Senior Officer at the Global Green Growth Institute, and I have the pleasure today to introduce you to this webinar, where we are going to talk about inclusive employment in the agriculture sector through climate-smart agriculture. And today we will start this webinar with some welcoming remarks from Mr. Adisu Negasha from the Ministry of Agriculture in Ethiopia. He will tell us a little bit more of CSA deployment in Ethiopia and will introduce this webinar. I will pass on the words to you now, Mr. Adisu.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. This is Adisu Negash from Ministry of Agriculture, Ethiopia. Dear representative of different organizations, good morning, good afternoon, esteemed colleagues, distinguished panelists and honored guests and all participants. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this important panel discussion workshops on increasing employment in agriculture through the implementation of climate-smart agriculture. Today, we gather with a shared commitment to transform our agricultural sector into a resilient, sustainable, and inclusive engine of economic growth and employment generations. As we all know, agriculture remains the backbone of many economies and providing livelihoods for millions of peoples worldwide. However, the sector faces unprecedented challenges: climate change, resource depletion, and market volatility that threaten productivity and employment opportunities. To address this challenge, the concept of climate-smart agriculture has emerged as a vital approach. It aims to increase agricultural productivity sustainably, building resilience to climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emission while enhancing rural livelihoods. Our goal today is to explore how the implementation of climate-smart practices can serve as a catalyst for creating new employment opportunities, especially for smallholder farmers, youth, and the marginalized communities. We will examine innovative strategies, full potential of climate-smart agriculture to foster inclusive economic growth and secure sustainable futures for our agricultural communities. Here in Ethiopia, in response of climate change, we develop series of climate change policies, starting from 2011, climate resilience green economy. We just developed national adaptation plans and NDC and the long-term low emission development strategies. For example, in 4 years, we just create employment opportunities for more than 1 million youth and other group of communities through compost making, through nursery establishment, through integrated soil health and fertility management practices in different parts of this country. So just through implementation of climate-smart agriculture in different parts of the country, we just support youth and we also enhance the resilience capacity of this part of the community. So just climate-smart agriculture creates green jobs for different community members. Thank you for your participation, and I look forward insightful contribution, active participation regarding to this panel discussions. And I look forward our continued partnership and collaborations. Let us work together towards a resilient and prosperous agricultural sector for all communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Adisu Negash, for these welcoming regards and for setting the scene on the importance of climate-smart agriculture to generate inclusive employment in the sector. and of course in developing countries. Thanks for giving us the example of Ethiopia.
Thank you very much. We also just establish national level in Ethiopia, national level climate smart agriculture forum to create collaboration, coordination among different stakeholders like government organizations, civil society organizations, academia and researchers, and the private sectors in Ethiopia. We meet twice a year to just enhance climate smart interventions. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
to continue with the webinar, we would like to set the context for this webinar. And our expert on employment assessment in the agriculture sector will provide a brief presentation on the results of the latest study from the Global Green Growth Institute on the employment impacts from climate smart agriculture practices. This study focuses on the impacts in Colombia and Ethiopia, but the results can be transferable to other developing economies. And now we will hear from Mr. Álvaro Altamirano, our expert on the results of this study. Álvaro, the word is yours.
Thank you, Diana. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen. I sent a request. Okay, here we go. Let me do this. Yeah, can you see my slides now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, again, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Álvaro Altamirano. This presentation is based on the forecast of the potential for green job creation within the agriculture sectors in Ethiopia and Colombia. In this report published by the Global Green Growth Institute, we assess how much employment would be created from achieving the national determined contribution targets for agriculture across 8 crops in both countries. In terms of the agenda, I'll first go over the context and objectives of the project, and we will discuss the main features of the methodology, and finally I'll present some of the results and provide a primer for the panel discussion. Before we get into the details and the results, I wanted to take some time to ask the following question. What do you think is the share of the global workforce working in the agriculture sector today? And I want you to take some time and think about this question and answer the poll that's here. Let me see. Okay. Okay, maybe I think that's enough time, so we can move on and see what the actual share of the global workforce working in agriculture is. And that is 26%, and that's a lot, and that's a very significant number, and it tells that agriculture, even though it has fallen significantly in the past 100, 200 years, is still the largest employer in the world. And in this document, we basically worked upon that premise, the premise that job creation is one of the most compelling climate action co-benefits. For developing countries, this is very relevant because it means green jobs can help lift millions of families out of poverty. Given that, we set up 3 main objectives. The first is quantifying the employment impacts from implementing sustainable agriculture for selected crops in both countries. We also wanted to identify specific occupations and skills that will be at the forefront of the green transition within agriculture. And we also wanted to provide actionable policy recommendations that can accelerate the implementation of the national climate and development strategies. In the following slides, I'll present some of the main results on several dimensions of each country's labor markets, some of which are listed here. These include labor demand for reaching NDC CSA targets, changes in occupations and skills, and changes in the quality, expected changes in the quality of jobs. To achieve the objectives, we first identified sustainable practices per value chain, per type of crop and country. This slide shows the crops we selected for each country. The main mission was to estimate direct, indirect, and induced jobs stemming from the implementation of NDC targets in terms of cultivation areas and processes. The methodology is broadly based on two levels of economic analysis. The first is a microeconomic value chain assessment of specific labor intensities required for conventional and sustainable practices in agriculture. The second level analyzes intersectoral linkages to determine the overall job creation potential of projects outlined in the first level. So we first extended FAO's exact VC family of tools to estimate the number of direct jobs by accounting the employment intensities for subactivities within each crop. These intensities reflect the number of workers per unit of output per value chain stage. That is the number of days required per activity in a specific value chain. And we got that from the literature. After estimating direct jobs and gross production values, we employed a supply-driven framework to model input-output relations, deriving direct and induced jobs. We specifically model input-output tables under the GOSH framework. The tool outputs many other indicators related to employment outcomes in different value chain stages. For example, employment by gender, labor formality, or the impacts of climate change on labor productivity. For the sake of time, I'll focus on the total job creation potential and some other indicators before we head up to the skills and occupations part of the presentation. The main takeaway of the study is that investing in sustainable agriculture for cocoa, forestry, rice, and sugar crops in Colombia and for wheat, teff, corn, and barley in Ethiopia would yield a significant amount of jobs, 863,000 over a period of 10 years in Colombia, and a similar figure for Ethiopia over that same period. So the modeling period was from 2022 to 2032. Total job creation estimates depend on various factors, many of which are modeled, including the employment intensities of each CSA practice according to the literature and the levels of wages used in modeling each scenario. However, in overall terms, the NDC's sustainable agriculture initiatives could create significantly more jobs over the next decade in both countries compared to the business as usual scenario. If you take into account how hard it is to create jobs in other industries, the utilization of CSA practices outweighs the additional costs associated with introducing such practices. For example, different studies in developing countries in economic infrastructure projects suggest that per $1 million of investment, you can create up to 70, 90 jobs. And in agriculture, that's significantly higher. So it has a higher potential of creating jobs at a significantly lower cost. But that also comes from the fact that in general, in agriculture, wages are lower. And we also quantified the impacts of increasingly high temperatures due to climate change. and these are projected to result in a significant loss of employment. For example, in Colombia, between 50,000 and 100,000 full-time equivalent jobs are expected to be lost in the sector due to exposure to high temperatures, in comparison to our estimate of about 800,000 new jobs under the CSA scenario. Coming back to this notion of the quality of jobs, one feature of our modeling is modeling jobs across gender, condition of labor formality, that is, if people contribute to Social Security or not, household, non-remunerated household labor, and other features of the quality of jobs. We find that even when the estimates include a portion of formal jobs or a job for women, if there are no supporting policies, the current trends in informality and women's participation rates will prevail. Now, we also complemented our estimates of job creation potential with the assessment of skills and occupations required for those jobs. So if we go over a primer of the differences between economic sectors, occupations, and skills, in this diagram, we can see the story of a rice co-op that needs to hire a farm manager, where the co-op is within the agriculture sector, economic sector, according to the International Standard of Industries taxonomies, and the farm manager is an occupation under similar taxonomies. The farm manager is required to know how to present general information, for example, which is a skill that she or he acquires at an educational institution. Given that, to identify skills, we use a set of occupation to skills matrices recently published by the European Commission. These are 15 tables that provide a composition of skills requirement for occupations. They range from broad occupational and skill label categories to granular occupation and skill sets. At their most detailed level, you can match up to 3,000 occupations with about 300 skills each. For each occupation skill pair, they provide a number that identifies the percentage of importance that each skill has for that specific occupation. This slide, for example, illustrates the skills identification exercise for a couple of occupations, namely cocoa bean roaster and cocoa bean cleaner. So you can see how these occupations for the cocoa, these skills for the cacao bean cleaners correspond to about half of the skill requires for that occupation. And on the right, for the cacao bean roaster, these skills correspond to about 40% of the total skills required, according to this dataset. Now, this figure illustrates the results of a machine learning exercise that we applied to different occupations, and in this case to farm manager, agriculture engineer, and agriculture technician and crop manager worker. And we did a string matching to classify skills in green skills and traditional or conventional skills. A quick read tells us that occupations such as agriculture engineers and technicians have significantly higher share of green skills compared to conventional skills. Farm managers and crop production workers have a higher proportion of conventional skills relative to green skills. If we dive deeper into this exercise with the example of agriculture technician, we can see in this table how we have a selection of general skills string labels displayed alongside their respective percentages, denoting the degree to which each skill is relevant to the tasks performed in the occupation. A second column named green indicates whether each skill label was assessed as similar to one of the 570 green skills labels provided by CEST, basically the European Union's green skills dataset. We classified a general skill label as green if its cosine similarity coefficient was greater than or equal to 0.75. And the final column adds the skill importance percentages of those skills labels categorized as green. Some of the lessons that we find from this skill composition and green skill identification exercise are that occupations have or share some common skills, that some skills are more prevalent in one occupation compared to others, and that some skills show partial overlap between occupations. And the document has a very extensive annex where we go deeper into specific occupations required for different crops in each country. Finally, to provide a primer for the panel discussion, we in this study find that the potential of sustainable agriculture is tremendous in terms of the potential to create jobs on a specific crops and achieving the national determined contribution targets in agriculture. Colombia could create over 800,000 new jobs, and Ethiopia over 600,000 new jobs in the next decade. We think our tool is informative, extensive, and scalable. And to maximize its impact, we can strengthen it by enhancing data quality, by tailoring NDC-related policies, and by addressing labor market challenges within agriculture. And thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Alvaro. And now we will pass on to the panel discussion and hear from our multiple experts. And I will pass on the word to our moderator today, which is Stelios Grafakos, the principal economist at the Global Green Growth Institute. Stelios, the word is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, anywhere you are. Good afternoon, good evening, anywhere you are. This is a very interesting topic. So, as Diana mentioned, I'm principal economist at the Global Green Growth Institute, and this was green employment assessments was one of the first assignments when I joined GGGI. So this topic is really in my heart, and I have the great pleasure and honor of moderating this panel discussion with distinguished panelists that they offer a truly global and diverse perspective on the employment and environmental impacts of climate smart agriculture. So I'm going to introduce our panelists and give them a round of a couple of minutes to reflect on the results of the study and also share their experiences working on the topic. Starting with Ms. Ji Yeon Rim from OECD, who is a senior policy analyst at the OECD Development Center and head of the Climate and Development Unit of the OECD Development Center. She oversees the work on agri-food system resilience and inclusive green transitions, and she can provide insights on high-level policy perspectives on climate development linkages and scaling mechanisms for CSA adoption globally. We also have Mrs. Jessie Fagan from FAO, program officer working on green jobs, who brings expertise on decent rural employment standards, focusing on improving job quality, fair wages, and safety within agriculture systems, adapting to climate stress. And we heard already some related results from the study on climate stress impacts on employment. The third panelist is Dr. Oscar Becerra, associate professor in the Department of Economics at the University de los Andes in Colombia, and he offers grounded insights from Latin America on the socioeconomic and labor market impacts of CSA transitions at the local level. Last but not least, we have Dr. Vogene Solomon Kabato from Széchenyi István University in Hungary, who is a research fellow in the university. So Dr. Vogene highlights pathways for research insights on CSA with an emphasis on improving resource use efficiency through regenerative agriculture, biofertilizers, biostimulants, cropping systems, and organic soil amendments from diverse contexts, including Europe. Collectively, their expertise spans international policy, labor standards, regional economics, and future skills, providing a holistic view and diverse perspectives of how CSA drives inclusive employment while at the same time building climate resilience across diverse regions. So today in this webinar and panel discussion, we're going to delve into critical topics, understanding levers for the adoption of CSA practices, strategies to enhance job quality and safety in the agriculture sector, reskilling youth for CSA adoption, and also effective policy solutions for inclusive scaling. So without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to Mrs. Ji Yeon-rim for her perspectives on the topic and sharing her experiences in a few minutes. Over to you.
Thank you, Stelios. Just one moment. I hope you can see my slides.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Stelios, and congratulations to your team for this very interesting and insightful report. I think it is a really important contribution to understanding labor implications of green transition in agriculture. And maybe one reaction to Dr. Montoya's presentation could be that, okay, it's really important to look at the job creation. I think it's equally important to look at the quality of jobs and the income effect of CSA. So with that, I'm from the OECD Development Center, and we are currently working with the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam on a project on promoting greener food systems and sustainable rural livelihoods. Okay, here we go. And the objective of the study is really to support these governments in their green transition of agri-food systems while ensuring decent livelihoods for farmers and food system workers. And the study will specifically look at, what climate smart agriculture practices could be best suited in the context of each country. So we're taking a value chain approach as well. What could be the potential impact on livelihoods of smallholder farmers, youth and women from this transition? And finally, we hope to conclude with policy and instruments needed to support building climate resilience at a farm level and as well as in the local food distribution network. The rationale for looking at CSA options and the focus on livelihoods is based on three main factors. I mean, obviously, the urgency of the situation with close to 40% of the labor force in Southeast Asia depending on natural resources and the environment for their jobs. They're highly vulnerable to climate change. Majority of them are in agriculture. We also know that agri-food systems contribute to 30% of global emissions. It is also lowering emission is a political priority in those countries, as stated in their respective NDCs. And also, the fact that most farmers in these countries are smallholders, any transition in agriculture will have a large social and labor impact. So let me share just, the study is still ongoing. So let me just share some preliminary findings from the qualitative survey that we are conducting at the moment in the Philippines. And we wanted to look at what CSA practices could be best suited for rice and corn farmers, and rice and corn having been selected by the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines. We are not done with the survey, but so far we've visited 9 provinces, spoken to over 100 people, including majority of them farmers. And what we find is, basically there's a large gap between what government wants to do and the incentives for farmers to adopt CSA. And so what we have found so far is that CSA practices are not much adopted amongst the rice and corn farmers, except for a bit of organic farming. There's very limited knowledge about CSA. And basically the primary concern for farmers is about income increase. So they're looking at more at crop diversification, value addition, sort of immediate solutions. They are suffering still from very large logistical and infrastructure gaps, and which makes input costs very high, also access to market difficult. They depend a lot on imported seeds, which makes them vulnerable again to global price fluctuations. And they have challenges with post-harvest losses and also lack of food processing and technology, which are common issues that you are familiar with. Despite the low awareness of CSA, CSA can be part of the solution. And really what is needed is a strong incentive for farmers and clear incentive mechanism for them. So for example, in the income diversification, they're interested in looking at mango or fruit trees. And so this could be done through climate smart agroforestry approach. And practices that are low tech, potentially higher yield, and also fetching price premiums. For example, in the rice sector, it could be through organic farming. Alternate wetting and drying show promising options. How can we decrease dependence on imported seeds and fertilizers? Currently, the Department of Agriculture investing a lot in agriculture research and development to create local resilient seeds, as well as local organic fertilizer production. Labor-saving technologies within CSA are appealing to younger and more educated farmers for potentially agribusinesses. And what farmers have been asking really is a real visual demonstration on the benefits of CSA. They really need to see what is the impact on yield and potentially on income. And finally, I think a lot of the CSA practices could be, we could look into linking them to carbon credit schemes as a immediate cash incentive. And so the research is still ongoing. We have another year to go, and we'll be looking at CSA potential in the horticulture value chain. We also want to start looking at the downstream activities of the food value chain, decarbonization pathways for food processing companies, for example, and also closing the loop with looking at food waste management and reuse, with the potential to create either biofuel or fertilizer, organic fertilizer. So that's where we're at the moment. So stay tuned for maybe next year for some more results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to see this ongoing study, and thanks for sharing the preliminary results highlighting the importance of CSA practices in the region, and also the different type of incentives for small holder farmers to adopt CSA practices. So now we will move to our next panelist to share the experiences and reflections. Ms. Jessie Fagan from FAO, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well.
Excellent. I didn't prepare any slides for you today, but I do have some input from FAO's Decent Rural Employment team, which focus a lot on youth. And of course, we focus on green jobs. So I first want to just very much agree with my colleague, Jin Yoon, on what she mentioned. I also believe that this report is incredibly important to be able to model and estimate how many green jobs can be created by following the NDCs and implementing practices in climate smart agriculture is exactly the information required to really mobilize support for effective policy and programs to increase climate smart agriculture and create respective jobs. According to FAO's recent report, The Status of Youth in Agri-Food Systems, which was launched last week, I'm happy to include the link in the chat, approximately 1.3 billion young people are currently working in agri-food systems worldwide, meaning they depend on these systems for their livelihoods. As many of us here know, youth unemployment is high in many regions, particularly in rural areas of Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia. Creating green jobs, which also refer to decent jobs, is thus incredibly important for job provision, adaptation, and mitigation of climate change, and also the provision of livelihoods and reducing rural poverty. I'm going to give a quick example of one of FAO's projects, which has supported job creation utilizing climate smart agriculture. So between 2019 and 2024, FAO implemented a project called Green Jobs for Rural Youth Employment. This was a global project that was implemented in Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, and Timor-Leste. And it provided skills to young people as well as tangible job opportunities. And so we started with soft skills training and also provided technical skills to our young people. And then our young people had to choose between two employment pathways, one being wage employment programs and the second being entrepreneurship. And so for the entrepreneurs, they were supported through small grants and also provided with mentorship, both from public and private partners. And in one of our districts, in one of our communities working in Sierra Leone, we were working in a district called Kono. And this district is known for its mining, so especially diamond mining. And a lot of the land there has been degraded over time from illegal mining activity. And so the community requested a project to support restoration of the land and organic produce. And so we created a wage employment program with local partners, including a local Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Agriculture, where we set up a wage employment program where a group of 20 young people were basically restoring the land by using organic and production and climate smart agriculture. FAO paid the wages for a given period of time until the business started making profit. And so we went from a wage employment program to a group entrepreneurship, a group business. The project's since been closed down, but we've seen the very successful results in this project, along with many other districts where our young people are utilizing the new skills in climate smart agriculture and making a decent living. And I want to emphasize the word decent here because it's one thing to create jobs for young people, for young women and men, but we all know that in agriculture, these jobs are often not decent, they're low paid, they're often not connected to Social Security. And so I think it's equally important when we're implementing projects as such to ensure we're working with government partners and additional partners to support the more macro level issues on decent work, including Social Security, including living wages, et cetera. That's it from my side. I look forward to the continued discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse, for sharing the insights of one of the programs of FAO targeting the youth on CSA agriculture, climate smart agriculture practices through skilling and training and equipping the youth to adopt these practices and highlighting also the importance of the decency of the jobs, right? The idea is not just to create jobs, but decent jobs. Thank you. Now we move to Dr. Becerra for his insights and experiences on the topic.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here. And actually, um, I would like to start highlighting the importance that these type of studies have to have for Colombia, because we are now in the middle of a big discussion of how to improve the livelihoods of rural areas, and especially those that are going to be really affected for the transition with the transition from fossil fuels to another type of livelihoods. So this is maybe my first take out of the presentation. I think that this is very useful for us. I think that kind of tool is necessary to try to have a structured way to present the results and to open a discussion, especially for the other types of questions that appear after that, that it is, okay, we can generate jobs, but what kind of jobs can we can create? And one of the things that I have learned here, and I have learned about this CSA approach, is that at least in Colombia, one of the key drivers of the success of this type of policies is going to be an active role of the community, integrated by supported by the government. In general, if you see in the presentation of Alvaro, the type of crops that are presented there are crops that, at least in the Colombian case, are highly federated. Even when they are small producers, they have a lot of a big community or society support related to the coffee growers, no, the cocoa growers federation, the rice growers federation, the sugarcane federation. So those type of institutions and institutionality allow the implementation of those practices faster. But in that case, other risk arise, and is what happened with the other crops, and what happened with the other types of crops that we need to ensure a smooth green transition. And that is the part I would like to stress in this part of the discussion, and is that, for instance, we have some regions, and Colombia, and I think that it is a story that we can tell about several countries. In Colombia, we have a really heterogeneous uh, agriculture production, a really heterogeneous mining production, and they are geographically located. And that means that if we shut down some industries, like for example mining, coal mining in the north of the country, we are going to need to develop agriculture solutions, basically agriculture-based solutions for these regions that are exclusive for that region. And for instance, I would say that in the Cesar area, for instance, that it is one of the regions that it is going to be really affected by the transition. We are going to have to rely on mango production, on coffee production, and it is not clear that we are going to be able to substitute all the income that comes from mining. And in those type of heterogeneous regions, it's going to be very difficult to improve this type of implementation of CSA policies without the intervention of the government. So the government play a crucial role here, because it's the one that is able to articulate this type of CSA initiatives in this area. The other thing that I would like to include in that part is that the conversation about decent jobs is very important. I would say that the CSA, at least in the case in Colombia, the CSA policies and alternatives is going to have an improvement, that it is more stability in income, but it is not clear that social security standards are going to be met, especially because due to the limitations that social security infrastructure have. In Colombia, the institutionality thinks in jobs as this type of jobs, industry, manufacturing jobs that you enter at 8 and finish at 5 p.m. and leave the office, and you are a salaried worker, and that is not the reality for the Colombian and for many countries in the developing countries, especially in the rural areas. Just to give you a number, the informality rate, labor informality in Colombia is about 80% in rural areas. So it's a big challenge. I think that we have to start to think social security with a different lens for rural areas. Probably community-based solutions are going to be the next step. And I'm going to stop there to let the panel continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Becerra, for your insights and experiences. Very interesting points you mentioned about the importance of institutions for the smooth transition, but also the crucial role of the governments on this transition, and also the importance of agriculture, sustainable agriculture, and climate smart agriculture practices, particularly for rural areas when they transition from previous type of economic activities like coal mining. So those could be a very important activities that could support a smooth transition to greener practices. And again, you highlighted, as the previous panelist, the importance of the decency of the jobs and social security, particularly in the context of agriculture. I will pass it now to Dr. Vogene Kabato for his insights and experiences on the topic. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me share my slide. You see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
If you could put it on full screen, maybe that will be better for our audience. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm very honored to be here to discuss timely discussion on how to CSA can serve as a powerful tool for the inclusive employment and sustainable development. As you know, the CSA has three win strategy. That means productivity, mitigation, and adaptation. So the CSA strategy was developed to sustainably increase the agricultural productivity and enhance resilience to climate change and reduce the greenhouse gas emission, which achieve the triple win for the food security, adaptation, and mitigation. However, despite its promising triple win potential, this CSA faces a significant challenge and a limitation, particularly the limited integration at a local development context. So this, especially the practices and the designed practices, which is not integrated at the local development plan, and limited awareness is also another limitation, and resources, institutional support hinders its effective adoption and implementation. The other point is neglect of, the exclusion of women and youth. That means which reduces the sustainability and adoption of the CSA. The other is neglect of soil health. I pointed out this because soil health it's a foundation for all the agricultural activity. Because of as a FAO report, like nearly 50% of the world soil is degraded. Because of this, the youth and the woman, they cannot be profitable because of the degradation of the soil. So, and it's also the soil resources is not taken seriously at the policy level in most developing country, and it's going worse and worse, and the profitability and the livelihood of the rural development, and also to to achieve this CSA strategy also makes challenging. Beyond weak market linkage, the absence of localized production models, which is limited, and enabling strategies, supportive facilities for green products like biochar, compost, vermicompost, biofertilizers. These severely limit both adaptation and income generating potential. So how can the CSA leverage as a catalyst for a green job, with simultaneously deepening the adoption of these practices? To maximize this, to maximize the CS impact, the CS strategy must deliberately integrate a green job creation. As I pointed out earlier, the CSA is designed for triple win strategy, but we need to deliberately integrate green job creation on this strategy, particularly for youth and women, not only to address high rural unemployment, but also to drive a greater adoption for these climate resilient practices. By directly linking the CSA intervention to income generating and opportunity, which increase the adoption of the CSA practices. Some key CSA strategy for green job opportunity, I pointed out here some of them, which is some practices or strategies. Agroforestry is one of the strategy to achieve the CSA strategy. These agroforestries create green jobs for youth and women through nursery establishment or nursery management, and the production of value-added products, such as the fruit, honey, timber. So this is one of the way how we can link or create the deliberate job for youth. The other is organic or microbial inputs. So this is one of the way we can to achieve the CSA strategy, which offers jobs for bioinput producers through composting, biofertilizer, vermicomposting, territorial enriched compost. So this is one of the way of creating the job for rural youth and women. The biochar creates a job for clean operators and biochar marketers through small-scale production and the local market developments. The other points or the strategy is improving soil health, creates a rural employment opportunity by training local youth as a soil test technician or advisor service providers, and helping them farmers make a informed decision to boost productivity while promoting sustainable and sustainable land management. Maybe I will talk about this maybe in the discussion section detailing. The other is to scale CSA and its job creating potential. The critical success factors must align the proper business model. So we need to design the proper business model, which targets especially low-cost technology or tech. For example, for soil test, we need to portable soil scanners, mini kilns. So this low-cost tech that can enhance the adoption of the CSA. And also which we cooperate ownership for marginalized groups. So this also enhances the adoption, and also it creates the job for those who are involved in this cooperative ownership. The other one is the enabling factors, which is enabling environment, which targets the policy, the financial, and the training. Also, this is a very enabling environment to achieve the CSA. And the other is linking biological, the market inputs, link market creation for bio inputs to maybe to design some subsidy programs for those who are participating in this bio inputs production, like maybe encouraging the government to replace some chemical fertilizers to use more these bio-based or organic amendments. So, and also the government or the policies, they have to, they should certify or brand CSA practice or products, like by making brand or especially for most of the developing countries. For example, let's take biochar is one of the success story that increases the productivity. So we need to certify or rebrand these CSA products, which generate the income for the youth and women. Thank you. This is my presentation. Looking forward for the discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cabato, for your insights and highlighting the CSA as a catalyst, not only for income generation, which is very important, as has been highlighted, but also for innovation, and also presenting us different CSA practices and the type of jobs, green jobs that they could create. And lastly, very importantly, the critical success factors for CSA adoption. So I would like to ask now a few questions to the panelists. So my first question is for Mrs. Ji Yeon Rim. We are in the middle of the NDC revision cycle. So governments, countries, they're working on enhancing their NDCs. And my question is, in what ways can those NDCs, these national climate commitments, can better integrate agriculture employment targets and CSA targets in order to drive a just transition and incorporate those targets in their NDCs?
Thanks for the question. Maybe Dr. Rogane, you can maybe unshare your screen.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying
no,
to.
It's okay, so I can't see the.
Yeah.
I'm trying to unshare it.
No worries. Yeah, I may sound a little repetitive here, but to me, sort of the CSA practices or sustainable agriculture, can either create jobs, but also can reduce jobs, and neither is necessarily, good or bad, meaning you can create, a lot of bad jobs, and you can also create reduce jobs, but then create good jobs. And so for me, the most important outcomes that need to be monitored in NDCs is really about the quality of jobs and decent livelihoods for current farmers. And so indicators to measure, number of jobs is fine, but also we really need to look at income and wage increase and access to social protection, and basically livelihood outcomes for vulnerable groups like women and rural youth. And so I think those indicators need to be specifically put in the NDC if we want to have a just transition.
Thank you. And that gives me the opportunity for the next question. So thanks for highlighting not only having targets for number of jobs, but also looking on the quality and the decency of the jobs, as was highlighted previously. So let's become a bit more specific here, and this is a question for Ms. Jessie Fagan. How can CSA practices concretely improve wages, working conditions, and safety in agriculture jobs, especially for seasonal laborers? And that relates very much to the point that Gian Rim made.
Thank you so much. These are all essential aspects of decent work, and as we all are aware of, most of us are aware of, it's not always easy to come by in rural areas. And so I think that the approach needs to be taken on from different levels, including private sector, including public sector. I think the notion of social security is incredibly important. There was a colleague that mentioned that social security, more formalized social security, is not always available to rural workers, and I think that's an excellent point. And I think in the medium term, while a lot of rural workers may not have access to more formalized jobs and thus social security, looking at other alternatives when it comes to social safety nets is of high value. In one of our projects, we supported some village saving loans, which allowed some of our workers some of our young people that we were supporting with employment opportunities to be able to access funding, whether it be for investment in their own businesses or whether it be emergency funds for their family related to healthcare, et cetera. And I think looking at these alternative options for rural workers is of high value, especially while we can't expect a lot of rural agricultural workers to be able to access these more formalized networks right away. Occupational health and safety is also incredibly important when it comes to decent work. And as we know, agriculture is one of the most hazardous sectors that exist. And therefore, also working with public partners to increase knowledge on how, especially in some of these value chains where we're finding many of our young people, also where there's issues of child labor, looking at how we can raise awareness on even simple improvements, because some of the occupational health and safety risk can be improved by simple awareness raising tools, by sharing knowledge, by providing skills to these workers on how they can make small changes to improve their safety. Of course, from the employer side, this is also incredibly important. So providing this knowledge to rural employers is also of high value. I think that's it. I could continue talking on the topic of decent work, but I'll leave it over to you, moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessie. Then for the next question, I would like to ask Dr. Becerra, who highlighted the importance of rural communities and local communities. So which policy interventions you think have proven most effective in scaling CSA inclusively while ensuring that local communities retain ownership?
I would say that the community-based solutions are usually channeled through the most successful CSA policies are those that are community-based solutions, but channeled through some institution, larger institution. Let's say in Colombia, we have a couple of good examples, especially with the Coffee Grower Association, that it is a large, very institutionalized, almost 70, 80 years of existence, in which they facilitate and give technology to the communities, but the property and the property and the implementation of the plan is basically at the local level. I would say that that type of institution or institutionality helps a lot. In some cases, it is not possible because we don't have that type of institution like the federation. But in that case, I would say that the government is the one that had to play that role of channel all this knowledge and all these new technologies and show the advantages that this type of alternatives may have.
Thank you very much. And the last question is for Dr. Vogene. And given the fact that you are also a university researcher, The next question is from your perspective, how can partnerships between research bodies and governments accelerate the implementation of employment positive CSA models? More on the research practice interface. If you can give us your insights on that. Evogene, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes, please
Okay,
go ahead.
sorry, it's technical problem. Especially in the collaboration system that integrated this climate smart agriculture and especially green job creation into a national development require especially the collaborative approach that combines national policies, including the international partnership, and making it localized best practices. That means sometimes collaboration makes a problem because they don't understand or integrate the local context. So the collaboration, it should not only at the national level and not only at international level, it should be also reconsider or integrate the local context. Most of the research work or the policies, they are not, integrate or come to practice. That means they don't benefit the community because they are not integrated with the local context. So countries can scale successful models such as, for example, I can say like just to highlight Ethiopian Green Legacy. I can initiate this Ethiopian Green Legacy initiative and what is the Kenyan Digital Advisory Platform, which is aligned with CSA strategies, which rural employment goals, engaging research institution, and a private sector partnership. That means a tailoring implementation to local agroecological and socio-economic conditions. So this approach ensures the CSA builds climate resilience while creating inclusive and sustainable green jobs. I want to point out here how the Ethiopian Green Legacy can create the job opportunity for the youth, and especially for youth and women, because this Ethiopian Green Legacy has aimed to plant billions of trees annually since it's launched in 2019. So this Green Legacy, they support reforestation, soil conservation, and climate resilience. But to enhance the impact of the Green Legacy initiative, it also recommended to strategically shift focus on towards planting greater proportion of economically valuable trees like fruit trees, especially the avocado, mango, which makes that have a strong market demand, and also it's ecologically very efficient. So this shift should be coupled with the developing value chain strategies that support the youth and women in the nursery establishment or nursery management, post-harvest processing, and agro-processing enterprises. So these things, additionally implementing the target training program on sustainable agroforestry practices and the business skills, alongside facilitating the access to finance and market, will help transform these tree planting effort to sustainable income generating opportunity and resilience agronomic green jobs. And also the Kenyan virtual agronomy advisor is also one of the best example of these CSA, because this platform provides smallholder farmers with mobile-based CSA training, and also these virtual agronomy advisors, they provide weather forecasts for every local area or context site-specific weather forecasts, And also it recommends input recommendation of the site-specific and market information. So this helps farmers or youth and women makes informed decision and improve incomes and participate more effectively in agricultural value chain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vogene. So now we can, and thank you to all the panelists for this round. Now we can take a few questions from the audience. The first question, we just selected a few, but more could be answered on the chat. So the first question is, I would like to know what training and capacity building opportunities are available or should be prioritized for local communities, especially smallholder farmers, youth and women, to equip them with skills in data science and geospatial analysis for effective participation in climate smart agriculture initiatives. The colleagues from FAO or OECD, do you have any knowledge on this? Any insights?
Maybe
Please.
Jesse will have a more
Come in.
concrete country example. But I mean, now we're working with the Philippines, for example, and I know that they are setting up a lot of, you know, I mentioned the importance of sort of this visual training and capacity building to really show farmers what is the potential benefit of CSA, whether it's on AWD or biochar. They're looking now at, you know, these food waste recycling to make organic fertilizer. And they're selecting some communities to train. So I'm not sure, I mean, which country you're based in, whether you're looking for a training in general, but in each country, yes, there are, as I said, it is a high priority for the governments, and whether it's through international cooperation or through governments themselves, there's a lot of training happening. But I don't know if that really answers the question.
Thank you. Yes, that's good. The next question is really focuses in Uganda. So in Uganda, most of the youth are actually running away from agriculture and migrating to urban areas. Of course, this applies to other countries. So in your report, Jesse, how would we reverse this amidst the increasing unemployment arising from advanced mechanization and the use of AI? Jesse, this is targeted to you.
Thank you, colleagues. And I think it somewhat relates to the last question. I think there's often a fear when we're speaking about AI and mechanization when it comes to reducing jobs. But I don't think that we need to go in that direction, especially when it comes to increasing decent employment in agri-food systems, because green jobs per se are not, even though we might make that association, that green jobs are high-skilled technical jobs, most of them are not, and we still require quite a large labor force to do what we need to do today, and that will be the case for the given future. And so while there are some jobs across the spectrum of green jobs and climate smart agriculture that will require high skills, where AI may come into that play, there's still a large portion of jobs that are needed where young people can come in and access those jobs. And even in some of the projects that we've looked at now, FAO, for example, does work with government when it comes to geospatial tools, when it comes to AI, looking at digital tools to monitor land management, for example, or ecosystem restoration. So we are working with public actors to be able to monitor that using some of these more highly skilled or more highly advanced technologies. However, when it comes to the groundwork, when it comes to those who are actually implementing practices, when it comes to climate smart agriculture, production, all those across the value chain, we're still far, far away from the need for high level of mechanizations or high level of skills. And so there is still a large need for low skilled labor in green jobs. And so I don't think that the concern on AI taking our jobs when it comes to green jobs is a concern that we need to be worried about in the near future. That's my opinion. But I do encourage everyone to look at the youth report. It does look at all of these dynamics, including mechanization, modernization, green jobs, and yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. This sounds like a very timely report. Thanks for sharing it. The next question from the audience. What are the most critical barriers, economic, institutional, or cultural, that prevent the transition from conventional to conservation agriculture in developing countries, like Nepal, for instance, even when modern agriculture technologies are available? And how can these challenges be effectively addressed through policy and grassroots innovation? Who would like to address this question from the panelists? Oscar, I see you opened your mic. Would you like to come in?
Yes, I would say that lack of knowledge. That is I would say that is one of the main takeaways of these initiatives of climate smart agriculture. Is we need to, especially this kind of studies help a lot to understand better the gains that we can have if we implement these CSA initiatives. And at the community level, of course, we need that governments, organizations, multilaterals, institutions help to spread the word and make clear that this is not an additional cost for the communities, and that especially is tailored for each community, tailored for each region, for each basically type of crop. But it is a good thing that we are doing this now, and it's trying to learn, share, and try to spread the advantage of this type of alternatives.
Thank you very much, Oscar, for addressing this question. I think we will stop now with the questions from the audience, if that's okay, as we are running out of time. I don't know if anyone from the panelists wants to add something before I pass it as a very last point, before I pass it over to Diana for the closing remarks. You shouldn't feel obliged. So if anyone wants very last words from the panel discussion, that's okay. Otherwise, we can pass it over to Diana. I just realized that my camera somehow is black, or is this the case? It doesn't matter.
It's
So
frozen.
any last words? If not, I don't see a mic opening up. So then I would like to thank all the panelists for your great and valuable insights. I think that was really insightful and very valuable and helpful. So big virtual applause to our panelists for their contributions and insights, and addressing also the questions. And with that, I would like to pass it over to my colleague, Diana Quesada, to give the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Stelios. And I would also like to thank all the panelists for sharing their insights and for discussing climate smart agriculture, which is a topic that we usually don't hear that much about in webinars. And we should also reach out to on level ground with information to basically address this challenge that farmers get the information that they need in order to transition from traditional agricultural practices to CSA and to have cost benefits, efficiency benefits, and so on. So I hope all the audience have their questions solved and they get more interested in the topic. I would recommend to review all the reports from FAO, OECD, and the different research reports that have been published on this topic, including GGI's latest report. And yeah, you could access the presentations and the insights from this webinar later on GGKP website. Thank you all for coming here, and I would like to close the session. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.